Week 2 is here. Welcome into Countdown to Kickoff, where we get you set for the action as the Bulldogs are back on the road tonight. It's Week 2, looking to start the season 2-0 against the Leader Glenn Grizlies. Curtis Quillen joined by head coach Rodney Southern, defensive coordinator Amari Del Real, and offensive coordinator Scott Schroeder. We'll hear from the coordinators in just a second, but Coach, you start your tenure as the guy in the big chair in Cove, 1-0 with a thriller win over Ellison last week. What'd you take away from it?
Well, it depends on how you define thriller. For me or for us, it probably wasn't. But, a W is a W, and it's hard sometimes as the head coach or, in a coordinator role. You're looking so much at all the things that you didn't do well. But then you look back and, you find a lot of things that we did well. And we shared with them Saturday that, we've got to fix the things we didn't do well, so we're going to harp on that. But, we moved the ball well offensively. Of course, KJ did what I expected KJ to do. But, the thing probably for me at the end of the game was the fact that the defense had to go out there and get a stop. And we didn't get a lot of those during the game, but when it was the most critical, they had to get a stop in order for us to win the game. And you don't ever know what you're going to get the first game of the year. We didn't really talk a lot about it, but there were about 17 guys at some point that played significant snaps, and it was their first varsity snaps, of their career. So, again, a W is a W. We've got to improve in several areas, and hopefully we've already got that process taken care of. But, I'll take one. As long as it goes in the left column, we're good.
You kind of touched on it there, but the new coaching staff, new style, you guys changed a lot of stuff from just how the team operates to scheme-wise, and not to mention position coaches and coordinators too. Then you've got the week one-iness of it, and then it's a road game to boot. The fact that you get out of there, both sides of the ball, you've got plays and pressure situations that happened, that needed to happen, and then like you said, that in that number going in the left column, not the right. Does that make you feel a little bit better coming out of that when you look down the line?
Well, I think you have to build on any phase of the game. You have to build on the things you did well, but you also have to harp on the things we didn't do well. And some of those were obvious, AJ, our deep snapper, is an incredible kid, and, he felt horrible after that deep snap. But, but we've got to fix that stuff. And it's a simple fix, but you've got to fix it for this week, and then you've got to fix it again and again and again. But, overall, the amount of things that we had to try to get done in what I consider a short amount of time. I mean, we were here March 24th. I'd have much rather been here January 24th, where we would have had some off-season time to do some of that stuff. But, the older guys that you would have expected to do well, I think led, which was good. And, and having a young quarterback make his first start and play as well as he did. But then again, defensively, you've got to go out there in a critical situation and you get a fourth down stop. And, and the biggest thing about it, and my wife actually brought it up, but, after JoJo hit the quarterback and the ball's bouncing around, well, we've got people on the sideline jumping up and down, screaming and yelling, and I'm screaming and yelling, get on the football. Because if that offensive tackle had picked that ball up and run it in for a touchdown, we'd have been sick. So the fact that everybody knew exactly what that situation was in our terms was good, and that was a way to end the game. But, that could have also gone the other way really quickly.
Coach Schroeder, when you look at your offense coming out of week one, what did you see that you liked, and what was the main thing you wanted to adjust coming out of that win over Ellison?
Well, we talked last week. I think one of the keys to the game was just see how we would respond to playing a real opponent in a real setting in that atmosphere and playing an extended amount of snaps. So from that standpoint, I would say we graded out at an A. They did pretty well. The next thing we talked about was pre-snap penalties. We did have a 6 of those, I think, and those were self-inflicted wounds that kind of stalled us a little bit. But, I mean, when you look at it, without those, we might have been able to score every time we had the ball. So, overall, very good effort on their part. So, something to build on and keep getting better, and at least that gives them some confidence going forward and some momentum, so which is always a good thing. But those self-inflicted wounds, those will clean up as we go, and we just got to keep getting better. You know, we tell the kids we'll see how it goes later in the year when teams know what we're going to do. You know, we've held some things back, and we've worked on some things, but at some point the opponent's going to know what your bread and butter is. Can we go beat a good opponent doing that, being who we are and executing? So we got to just keep increasing our level of play every week and see how it goes. But I was excited. You know, I talked last week about how once Friday comes, my work's kind of done. I have to call the plays, but I'm a fan at that point because I love coaching these kids. They're great kids, good workers, but, you know, as a coach, man, I was super excited for Craig and KJ and Ashton and the offensive line, and they did a great job, and I was very happy to see it.
Coach Del Real, same question to you coming out of that Ellison win. What did you see that you liked, and what was the main thing you wanted to address with your guys this week?
Well, I think, like we talked about, I thought the effort was there. You know, you turn the clip on, and at the end of every clip, there's 8-9 guys to the football. So it was never a question of effort. I think it was more so a first time doing what we do, which is new to them, in front of the big lights. And, you know, obviously I think our eyes got us in trouble sometimes. But the good thing that regardless of what the situation was, if we give up a touchdown or whatever the case may be, the kids never looked down. They never started putting the head down. They never started arguing with each other, which was obviously something that it concerns you because you never know how they're going to react, like Coach Schroeder was saying. You know, but they took it in stride, and they came back time and time again, and obviously at the end they found a way to win the game. So there's flashes of what we could be, and I think throughout the week coaching them and harping on the things that we need to change, which is just little things. It's not – they know where to be. They just need to do it more often than not. And I think, you know, coaching them hard this week has built on that, and hopefully we give a better showing this Friday.
Up next, we'll dive into tonight's matchup. It's the Bulldogs and the Glenn Grizlies here on Bulldawg Radio. You're listening to Countdown to Kickoff.
Coppers Cove residents age 60 or older are invited to get your Golden Passport. This complimentary pass grants you free admission to all CCISD-sponsored athletic events, band concerts, choir performances, and drama presentations. To get yours, visit the CCISD District Service and Training Center, 408 South Main Street in downtown Coppers Cove, right next door to Little Tex.
Back into Countdown to Kickoff. We'll dive into the Bulldog offense against the Glenn defense. And Coach Southern, we'll start with you. When you turn on the tape for tonight's matchup, what pops off the screen about this Glenn team?
Well, I think there's 2 or 3 things, and there's kind of a couple on each side of the ball. You can tell they're a little bit more of a disciplined team than probably what I think I saw last year's film. They've changed philosophies a little bit on both sides of the ball. They're a base 3 down line scheme, which is very similar to what we saw last week. I think their interior guys are a little bit more active than what we saw last week. I think they're once, and Coach Schroeder mentioned it a while ago, once they start to figure out kind of what our core package is, obviously you may see some different things in terms of what they're trying to do. And then obviously the success we had last Friday throwing the ball, I'm sure we're going to see more 2 high safety looks from them. But I think they're a team that was on the other side of one of those games this past Friday. Some mistakes hurt them in some critical situations on both sides, but I think defensively, they, especially inside, I think they're pretty good. And obviously we're going to have to do some things a little better than we did last week. But, you know, hopefully our O-line can take care of a lot of that responsibility.
Coach Schroeder, when you look at their defense, where do you feel the biggest opportunity for your unit is tonight?
Well, the weird thing about that is, from a game plan standpoint, their last week game, Medina Valley, however you say that, they're a wing T team, so I got absolutely zero from that game. So all I have to go off is a scrimmage right now. So it's really kind of hard to tell. But we know they're a three-man front, which Ellison was, which is different than they faced. So at least they have that base down now. But at this point in the year, it's really about us anyway. I mean, as these kids move to the varsity level, there's really even front, odd front, 4 coverage packages you're going to see. It's more a mental thing. So it's understanding football, and it's game time adjustments, handling the chess match, being smart enough to know what they do. So it's hard to tell what they specifically are going to be, but at this point we're just kind of worried about ourselves and how do we adjust and how do we execute and what our knowledge is and how we play in the games and stuff. So it's kind of a weird situation with that first opponent from my side of the ball, because I mean, they're double tight wing T, so I didn't get nothing from it, but we'll be all right. We'll be all right.
Do you feel like coming out of week 1 and looking down the line that your offense is something that is able to be balanced and complementary, where you've got KJ who can get your receivers open and you've got good receivers who can give KJ running lanes too?
Exactly, And I was on the defensive side of the ball for so long, so when I game plan, I look at it from a defensive perspective, and if I was a defensive coach against us, what do you stop? I mean, you're going to have to commit to something. And if you commit to the run, then the pass game can hurt you. And we haven't done a lot of play action yet or anything like that. We're still progressing a little bit. But once we get the whole package in, we've got a lot of dangerous athletes. So it'll be very balanced. And I'm more a run guy first at heart, so if I can go 60-40 run to pass, I'm pretty happy, and that's exactly where we were at Friday night, was 60-40, so worked out pretty well. So,
Coach Southern, when you look at what your guys did Friday, where's that? He mentioned that new defensive philosophy, but power spread versus wing T, you can't glean a ton from it besides who the guys are that they're trying to build their defense around, maybe. So where are the opportunities in your eyes?
Well, I think you look at, and Scott mentioned it, you at some point have to be, and I was a defensive guy, and I always said, I'm going to line up. If I'm playing us, I'm taking KJ out of the game as best I can. So that means I've got to have 7 to 8 guys in the box at times. Well, if that's what they say they're going to do, then you're going to tell me you're one-on-one with all our receivers. Well, then we've got to be able to protect Craig enough to get the ball out quickly and get the ball to the right people in space. If you're going to say you're a 50-50 guy, and some defensive guys are, we're going to do what we do defensively, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I think that creates another dynamic, because we have enough, I think, with our offensive line and tight ends, and obviously KJ and Dooley and those guys, that we can still be able to run the football, even if you are trying to sneak that extra guy into the box. So I think that's, and that's always the chess match of football when you get to Friday is, okay, what did they prepare all week that we didn't prepare for, and vice versa. So, but I do think from an offensive standpoint, if we can run the ball, all the other things kind of take care of themselves.
Up next, we'll dive in to the other side of the ball. It's the Cove defense and the Glenn offense as we get you set for kickoff. This is Countdown to Kickoff on Bulldawg Radio.
Hello, Copperas Cove football fans. It is that time again. The Bulldogs are ready to go to battle, and Chick-fil-A is here to provide your pregame or possibly post-game meal if the game gets over early enough. But just know we're here to support these kids, and we'd like for you to come on by and see us to eat more chicken. Go Dogs!
We're back on Countdown to Kickoff as we get you set for the action. It's week 2. It's the Bulldogs and the Leader Glenn Grizlies from Bible Stadium. And I'm Curtis Quillen, joined by Rodney Southern. And for this block, it'll be defensive coordinator Amari Del Real. And the first thing people are going to notice is this is not your grandfather's Glenn team. One, because our grandfathers weren't in high school when Glenn was open, but also because they've switched offensive schemes. And Coach Southern, you mentioned this in the last block, and on the offensive side, that's going from a wing T, slot T option offense to more of a power spread.
Yeah, and it's and to me, and talking with their head coach, obviously he's not going to tell me why or what or any of that, but that's a pretty significant shift. And especially from an offensive line standpoint, the things that you normally teach your O-line, and watching a little bit of the last year's film, how they come off the ball and how they tried to do what they were trying to do offensively, that's a big shift. It's probably very similar to the shift that our kids defensively are facing, going from a 3-man front to a true 4-man front. And so, there's some football in it, but there's also some execution at whatever level. I think their quarterback does a good job managing what they need him to do. I think if he has a choice, he'd much rather stay in the pocket and throw the ball. And I think and this is just my opinion, a lot of times people go to the spread because they think that's what they should go to. And if that's the choice he made based on the quarterback or based on the running back, I think they've got 2 backs that are pretty good. But I think that's also, you've got to hang your hat on something. And if they're going to this, and obviously they've had 2 scrimmages in a game in it, so that's what they're going to. But, I think that plays into our favor because we saw that very similar to that, minus a tight end, and Ellison had a tight end a little bit, but I think these guys would like to have a tight end more than they do probably. They just may not have, the personnel that they really want to fit this scheme right now. But, they scored 32 and had a couple more opportunities that probably should have got points and didn't. But, again, philosophies are based on what the coach or his offensive coordinator, if the offensive coordinator is actually calling it, is based on personnel sometimes. That's how we always look at it. Do you have the personnel to do what you want to do?
When you look at the grand scheme of it, obviously you've got 4 games to get you ready for district play, which in the way Texas high school football is set up, that's where it counts toward playoff qualification. A year ago, and I know you weren't here, but you spend all summer, all spring and all camp getting your defense ready for District 12 6A. You open with a spread team that's full of athletes, and then you go into a slot T team the next week and an air raid team the week after that. Does this help with preparation for district play a little bit better than forget everything you just learned. Here's how you defend a service academy, basically?
Well, it's – I look back at that, and if I'd have been here, I wouldn't have scheduled them if they're in the slot T, just because for that very reason. Number one, you don't see it. And what people don't realize, I think, a lot of times with it's not the film part and all that part. It's the fact that your JV offense can't simulate that, not at a pace. And I think that's part of what hurt some of our DBs the other night. We do enough good on good, which has been a change for these kids, but we've got to do more than probably what we did a week ago, based on the fact that, okay, that guy's running faster than that JV receiver was running. Well, that's the same thing with an offense like that. And I can't believe they just abandoned it, but it's such a difference in the philosophies that, I'm not going to schedule a slot T team if I have a choice, but just for the simple fact you're not going to see it very often. But at the same time, I think when you have to play and react on the field, because this is one of the areas where every week we've got to get much better, and I tell kids, know the situation, and it's just amazing how many times. And it's college football, it's pro football, it's that players on the field don't know where they are on the field, and they don't know what the down and distance is. And I think that sometimes defensively is much more important than, okay, they've got one tight end or two backs or whatever it is. But, this having a spread team, because to me, just kind of at glance, what they're trying to do looks a little bit like Waco Midway. I would assume it's probably going to look a little bit like Temple as well. So is it going to help us? Yes, it'll help us prepare, but it's also got to help us, and this is the next step for us. And, in this game last year, the guys that were in it had a lead in the fourth quarter and let it slip away. So obviously we've got to prepare and make sure that doesn't happen.
Coach Del Real, when you look at the tape, where do you feel like your unit's biggest opportunity is tonight?
I think up front, just piggybacking off last Friday, I think we showed that our front four could really do some damage. And Glenn is a team that in their scrimmage and in last week's game against Medina Valley, they threw the ball about 85% of the time. They only ran the ball 15 times last Friday, 5 of those being in short yarders, kind of like our offense did against Ellison, where they get in a heavy formation and just try to get a first down. So, and for them was in the goal line. So you're really looking at 10 times running the ball out of their normal offense. So obviously our front four getting pressure on the quarterback. I think JoJo or Mike Backer showed that he can get in there and wreck some havoc as he did on that last play. And then on the back end of that, it's a great opportunity for our DBs to get more work at what was obviously somewhere where we didn't succeed as much last Friday. So, but I'm also excited for Matt and Eli and Gilbert and Twin to get in there and get some pressure on the quarterback. And even then, I thought we left a couple sacks on the field last Friday that given the opportunity again, I doubt they'll let those pass by.
A year ago, it was a younger defense, and there were some times where if the game's 45 minutes, the result's a little different. But the game's 48 minutes. You saw last week 10 seconds on the clock, and you're making an important hit and chasing down a football to seal a win in a tight game. Where have you seen that mentality shift or that growth in the defense from the time you got here late spring to, as we sit here today, where now they're getting those extra. They know that game is a little bit longer. The mistakes weren't there at the end of it that were there a year ago.
Well, I think one of the biggest changes from spring, like Coach said, we got here late, and I think me and Coach Schroeder actually got here April 1st. So just being here in the spring and just realizing how much the physicality of it was not there when we got here. And in the summer, just working on the little things and try to get them to understand our defense and how it all marries together, the run fits to the coverage and vice versa. I think as we got closer into the fall camp, I think you just started seeing the kids being more comfortable, and they understood where to go, and so they got to play a little bit faster. And I thought in our tile scrimmage, you saw a lot of that, guys running to the football. But it's obviously a little bit easier when you've seen the offense since spring, so you kind of understand what they want to do and where to fit, and then you change it to somebody who's a little bit more 10 personnel against Ellison, and now you got to run with dudes that are fast, and our DBs can run with them, but it's just that split second when you peek to the quarterback instead of just getting on your guy. That's the difference with guys like number one who could, showed why he's going to UTSA next year. So, but I thought going into fall camp, I really saw the physicality of this team rise, and it showed last Friday. We just got to run with receivers a little bit longer than we did last week. Yeah.
That is a look at the Bulldog defense and the Grizzly offense heading into week 2. Up next, final keys to the game as we get you set for kickoff. It's Countdown to Kickoff on Bulldog Radio.
Hello, Cove. I'm Dr. Brent Hawkins, Superintendent of Schools for CCISD. As you may have heard, the Board of Trustees unanimously placed on the ballot for your consideration a bond proposal for the November election. That was done at the recommendation of the district's long-range facility planning committee that met in the late spring and early summer. On the general proposition, there are 3 schools that are being renovated and construction taken on those campuses: Fairview Jewel, Coppers Cove Junior High, and Coppers Cove High. Proposition B includes expansion of locker rooms and expansion of the district's fine arts facility. Proposition C includes a multi-sport, multi-organization, open-air pavilion to meet the needs of our students. We would like for you to continue to tune in to our district website and look at the information that we're putting up as we seek to inform you, and especially invite you to our roundtables where we can listen, learn, and get all the information that you need in order to make an informed decision in November. We appreciate your time. Thank you for your consideration. God bless, and go Dogs.
Back to wrap things up on Countdown to Kickoff. Curtis Quillen, Rodney Southern, Amari Del Real, Scott Schroeder. If you would like to be at the taping of this pregame show, we'll do that every Tuesday that there is a game, so no event on the bye week, but every game week Tuesday at 11:30 in the boardroom at the District Service and Training Center on South Main Street. Coach Schroeder, your final message to your guys before you run out of the tunnel and take on the Grizzlies tonight.
See if we can't cut down on the self-inflicted wounds, keep taking care of the football, handle any adversity that comes our way, and just keep progressing. We saw a good outing Friday. Let's not just assume it's going to be that easy. Keep getting after it and have fun and play hard.
Coach Del Real, same question to you.
I think just keep running to the football as we did last Friday. Have a little more discipline on the back end. Keep your eyes where they need to be. Don't get caught by all the movement that they want to do. Don't get caught looking at Medusa, as we like to say. But have fun. Go out there and enjoy it.
Coach Southern, your final 3 keys before you leave the locker room and kick things off tonight against the Grizzlies.
Well, I thought last week we cleaned up some things that I think you have to have, and hopefully people that are football people really understand it. I thought we handled the sideline. We handled the transition from offense to defense to special teams. We handled the transition, I thought, when we did turn the ball over, which was not too bad. But at the same time, you've got to ramp up the level of just being more physical. And I think that's everybody that we have, our kickoff team, our punt team, every facet of the game, we've got to be more physical than we were. And a lot of times people mistake being physical. You got to be confident in order to be physical. Even the littlest guy out there, if he's confident, he can be a physical football player. And that's something that we stress all week. So obviously that's going to be a key. We've got to come out physically, especially if we win the toss and get the football. We got to do what we did last week, take the ball down, put it in the end zone. I think the other thing is don't lose sight of knowing what the situation is in the game. I thought there was a couple times where we could have been better in that area, but and I mentioned it a week ago, and I'll probably mention it every week. Continue to handle it from a discipline standpoint, and discipline's not punishment. Discipline is doing what we ask you to do when we ask you to do it at a high level. I hope fans saw, our kids are going to keep their helmet on their head. We're not going to be sitting on the sideline doing whatever we want to do. There's a message, there's a mission, and then there's put your helmet back on and get back focused in the game. And that's something that I stress to everybody, coaches, managers, trainers, it doesn't matter, because number one, it alleviates a potential problem down the road. The other thing is you look prepared. Whether you're 100% sure what's fixing to happen or not, you look prepared. So, and then it's obviously our job as coaches to make sure they are physically and mentally prepared, and I know we've done that. But, and I have to do this a lot, and Coach Schroeder helps me a lot with this. The football game's supposed to be fun. Now, we all with 3 seconds left and they got the ball, and we got to stop it defensively. That's not a lot of fun. It's fun for the defensive guys, but it's not a lot of fun for us. But you still have to have fun playing this game, and I thought we did that the other night, and I think we'll do that again tonight.
Well, coaches, thank you so much for your time. Good luck tonight.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
For head coach Rodney Southern, defensive coordinator Amari Del Real, offensive coordinator Scott Schroeder, producers Matt Thompson and Cole Witter, superintendent Dr. Brent Hawkins, I'm Curtis Quillen saying thank you for joining us on Countdown to Kickoff. Up next after this break, we'll send it upstairs to the booth where Russ Cochran, Ben Pettit, and the crew have you covered on the action.